battled with this question because I feel like at this time I should know it, right? So I'm saying the word ministry, right? That's such an overarching word, but even just together, being with friends, being confident in speaking in your identity. How do you find, like this, I'm so comfortable with. I can talk all day long and I can tell you all the things. I can speak Bible in my language. But when my husband gets in the room, I find myself shrinking because it's not a comparison, but he knows the Bible like, in the back of his head versus me. I'm like, what was Saul's brother? I forget. It's just, I speak just regular folk, right? I talk here and you're going to understand the story from how I say it. But how have you guys found to where you don't feel yourself shrinking when you're with your husband in that space to just own your identity? I'm fun, I'm playful, I speak just down to here. But again, not finding yourself shrinking when you're in the room in that setting, in those environments with them.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Yeah.
Well, I think there's the letter of the law and then there's the spirit of the law. And you probably have an understanding that you're bringing to things that other people need in that room. And it's just to be confident and not shrink back, possibly talk to him. Have you done that? Does he know that you're kind of shrinking back?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
And I don't fully shrink back. I'm still myself. It's more like the internal,
the
internal like thoughts in the room.
Well, I think that you have good thoughts and words to share that other people need to hear that may not want to do chapter and verse. Not that that's not a good thing, but I think most women, we like the storytelling. We like the camaraderie with each other's hearts. That is a great thing for you to offer. And I would just really encourage you to be confident in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think too that I don't prefer chapter and verse when I'm having a conversation with someone. So I think the first thing is just recognizing that because we're all uniquely made and because we're created in God's image, we're bringing a different flavor, and your flavor is needed. So it's like if you're in a big pot of spaghetti sauce, and the oregano's not there, it's not very good, and so all the other parts can be there. But if you're missing that one key ingredient, so I think kind of knowing what you bring to the table is important. I really love like personality tests and, we do a variety of different things, but so I'm kind of opposite actually in my marriage. So my husband's the quieter one. And when he does speak, he always drops like a wisdom bomb.
Yeah.
But I would never want him to shrink back. Yeah. Like we've had conversations where I'm like, I know that I'm loud and I'm, can have a big personality, but it actually hurts me to think that it is clouding him. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yes. Where I'm like, oh man, if everyone knew what you brought to the table, they would be like so amazed by you, So I think that's first and foremost is realizing that your husband probably feels that way, like I want you to bring all that. Also, maybe we'll just go around and come back, but also I think that when you know, okay, so like if you take one personality test, we did DISC. So I'm an I. Casey, my husband, is an SC. It means he likes study, he's conscientious, he likes things to go the same way. I am like, it's a party all the time. I'm an ID or a DI given the situation. So it also means I'm quick to make a decision. Yeah. If you're not that way, you could feel run over. Yeah. Well, we were in environments where people were like, he should be leading in that way. He should be the one making the decision. And so I found myself like trying to shrink back to make room for him to be someone that he wasn't even, like that wasn't even his thing. We ended up doing this DISC thing and we had I don't know, it's not a counselor, but what are those people called? Like a certified?
Yeah, they teach it. Yeah, coach.
Yeah. And he was like, man, y'all make the perfect couple because you each bring such a different, he didn't say vibe. I don't remember what he said. We told people for a long time, we were like, that was better than any marriage counseling we got because we felt like they were always trying to kind of change us and this celebrated us. Yeah. And so that helped. I have a lot more, but I'm going to let Julie go and then we'll talk about soul care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking to the DISC assessment, and we've done the Working Genius, I'm more like Casey and Charity's more like Brian. And So I feel like in the last year, I've really come into my identity, who I am, how I function, and knowing that he functions kind of more like Charity does, and I'm more reserved, quiet. When probably a year ago, we were sitting at a table, and I was so quiet, and I was like, oh, I have nothing to say, and I felt myself doing that shrink back, and it's forced me to really face like who are you and how do you function? Okay, now step into that. Be the confident woman you are. Don't shrink back, because everybody needs what you carry. You know, we all carry something different, and it's valuable. And so it's important not to, but to really just step into that.
I think we all know those things. Like, you could probably answer that question.
Yes.
If I said to you, you know, you would say basically what we all just said. But I think at the root of those things, it's really celebrating who you are from a healed place.
Yeah.
So one thing could be, and I'm not saying it is, and we're not trying to do inner healing right here on the thing, but one thing could be, I'm too much. I'm not enough.
Yeah.
So what identity statements are we making? And then what needs to happen with those? Like, how do we come out of agreement with those so that we're comfortable in our own skin? So for me, it might be opposite. Mine was always, and you know how this goes, when you come into agreement with something, then people, it's in the spirit realm, right? Like something's happening up here, and then people feel it, and then they say it. You are too much. You know, you're too much. You're too opinionated. You're too decisive. You're too bossy. Whatever the stuff was. And so I found myself like not appreciating those things about me. Then I didn't know how to act, because I do have opinions and I am decisive.
Right.
But I would be like, well, I don't know. What do you want? You know, and then no one
down,
would make
you
a
knew the answer.
decision. Yeah, you know. And so for me, what made the difference was like, I tell people this with marriage, I tell people this with parenting, but like, you gotta go after all that crap that's in you. Like, it is your job, because it just keeps getting peeled back and peeled back. And the more you peel back and you realize, I'm actually a pretty cool person.
Yeah.
Like, I actually like myself, you know, and I'm not talking about in a prideful way, but I'm saying like, God really put me together this way, you know, and there's a celebration of that, and there's a celebration of who I am. But also, when we're healed, we're not too much. So when I'm operating in this place of hurt, and maybe I feel like I need to be heard, and I'm overrunning people, and y'all all know, if you have a personality like mine, of course I did that. I'm not making space for other people. Those things are true. But the more I come into this place, the more I'm like, I can speak when I need to, but I don't have to. I'm not crying to be heard, but I'm not shrinking, you know? And so I think that's my bigger answer is, you know the answer. You could have said everything that we said.
You know, I do know, but each one of you brought just something new. Like you saying, telling a story. That's me. I'm going to give you the details. But often it does feel like, I'm like, wait a minute, what book was that from the Bible? I'm like, it's in the Bible. I'm not for sure where, but it's in there. And so that alone is just like, it is okay to just tell the story. And you don't have to give reference, because not everybody needs it. They just need to tell the story. What happened? How to do it. So this was great. You guys all gave me nuggets. And your husband, you are more like Jacob. And we are a lot. So it's good just to hear from your guys' perception on owning it and knowing it's, you know, I'm like, Marlene, you're freaking 41 now. Like, you should know this by now. But it's like, girl, like, you're not alone. We've known the Lord forever, and we're still just learning this together, these pieces of, you know, this small area of our identity that we just need to really peel back again and really get to the root.
That's right.
And I would say surround yourself with people who will speak that stuff, because I am not taking any credit for helping Julie, but I am saying Julie has helped me. So there are many things that she's like, well, have you thought about it from this perspective? Because she is more like Casey. And I'm like, oh, no. Or sometimes she can feel sorry for Casey, and I'm like, he's fine. I think he's fine, you know, because she's processing it through that way or whatever. But I feel like I've been able to help her even just be like, Julie, he wants this from you. Like, I'm telling you from experience, you know. And so I think when you surround yourself with people who carry some of those similarities but love you enough to speak truth,
remind you who
that's a
you
game
are.
changer. And say, call it out, you know, call it out and up. I would also say one more thing, and maybe y'all could speak to this, but we're not going to be everybody's cup of tea either. And I think when we get caught in this place of, I've got to be, I know you didn't ask this question, but I think as women, when we're trying to step into what we are, we want everyone to like us and come on board and all of that. And I just realized very early on, that's not going to happen. And I'm going to be for some people and I'm not going to be for others. And hopefully they'll be mature in the way that they process that. You know what I'm saying? But I got to just keep moving on, you know? And so I think finding your sweet spot and finding those people is really key too. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, there will always be critics, and maybe not even super critical, but sometimes we feel a dampening in the room, and those are the times where you need to pull forward the most and kind of war against that a little bit. Just move forward. Be who you are. God created you with a voice that the world needs to hear in this time.
Yeah.
And I applaud you in that.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks.
That's good. Thanks, ladies. That was a great conversation.
Yeah.
You feel like you got your answer?
Yeah.
Or an answer?
Yeah, it's good. I feel, validated in certain areas. So it's like, girl, you know this. Like, just get up and do it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is me, because you're right. I do think, because we'll be in rooms and Jacob will be like, dear, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I'm like, I don't think. I'm like, I don't have a thought on that one. What you said was perfect. And so it's just, I feel validated in some of those areas. Like, it's okay to just sit back and not have it, or just say it how, it comes out, and he's going to love it. He wants to hear it, or else he wouldn't have asked me.
Yeah.
So he does make room for it. It's more, it's me.
Okay.
I would say too, I didn't always make room for Casey. And I started noticing like, oh, he might be really quiet. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but sometimes we would go and I would notice Julie being really quiet. And so it has made me have conversations outside of the moment.
Yeah.
Hey, how can we make sure, like, if you have something to say, I don't want you to feel like you have to fight to do it. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, how do we do that?
Yeah. We also did, and I don't remember what it's called, but we did a temperament test. And one of probably the most valuable nuggets in there was, my personality is very quiet. But if I have something to say, I'll say it.
Yeah.
And so if you ask and I don't say anything, it's really because I don't have anything. That was so freeing for me to be able to to be quiet and observe, and then when I had something to say, I'm going to say it.
Yeah, that's good.
We also have tips, of like, hey, if you're feeling this way, then say this or do this. So that's one other thing you might talk about. I'm laughing because I told Julie she was always going to say her favorite food was chocolate cake. Because we get thrown under the bus sometimes in these situations, and people are like, what's your favorite food? And you're like, a deer in headlights, and I was like, Julie, just say chocolate cake. But Casey and I have cues. And so even with that, like, he'll reach over and go like this, and it means, and it's not super noticeable, but it just means I have something to say, and I'm like, oh, and what do you think, honey? Yeah. What's up? So cues are good.
Yeah, that's good.